Thank you, Leona. This is Jill. I just want to confirm that you can hear me clearly.
Hear you loud and clear.
Awesome. Welcome to the webinar. I'm so excited to see so many people from different places, and welcome to Canada. I'm glad to see you here as well. No More is a universal movement to stop domestic violence and sexual assault, and we have had organizations in other countries actually be interested in No More, so we're glad to see our friends in the North on our webinar. The reason we had this webinar today is because we've seen a great number of students come forward starting No More campaigns, and we've gotten a lot of questions from folks saying, hey, how do I get involved with No More? So we thought we'd do this wonderful webinar for you so that you can get information. We're going to start out today. We're going to talk about who we are. What is No More? How did this get started? What does it mean? And we're going to talk about the tools that No More has that we can give to you to use for a No More campaign. We'll talk a little bit about strategy on campus. How can you use No More on campus? And we have some wonderful examples and some great pictures of some of the work that our student activists have done. We actually have two of our favorite activists, Simona and Savannah, are going to tell you what they did on their campus and the result that they had and how they got started and the things that they did, so that you can hear from people on the ground who actually have done the work. We're going to answer some common questions that people ask about No More a lot, especially when it comes to using the materials that we have, as well as, what's it like to use a No More campaign on campus. And we're also going to talk about some upcoming opportunities that you have in your area over the next school year to use No More to raise awareness about domestic violence and sexual assault. As all of you know, because you're all on social media, there's been a lot of attention given to these issues both on campus and in the public eye, and you have a wonderful opportunity to capitalize on those issues to talk about it with your peer group. So that's really what we want to do for you here today. As Leona said, if you have questions, we will try to answer those during the chat. So please write them in the chat. If we can't get to it during the webinar, we promise to get the information back to you. If we have your email address, we also at the end of the webinar will have our email address where we can have a one-on-one conversation as well. A lot of the information that we have you'll find in the webinar as well as on our website. Now I'd like to turn it over to Rachel, who is our social media and communications manager, and she's going to tell you all about No More.
Hey Rachel, you may be muted, so if you could just press *6. Oh, there. Hi, can everyone hear me? Yes.
Perfectly.
Great. All right. Awesome. Thanks so much. So thanks, Jill, for that. Now I'll give some background on No More. So what is No More? No More is the unifying public awareness and engagement campaign focused on ending domestic violence and sexual assault. Like the peace sign, the red AIDS ribbon, and HRC's equal sign, the No More symbol is the first unifying symbol to express support for ending domestic violence and sexual assault. And we're using the signature blue symbol that you see in the right to increase visibility and foster greater dialogue. And our three main goals are normalizing the conversation around domestic violence and sexual assault, breaking the social stigma, shame, and silence of these issues, and finally increasing resources to address these urgent issues. So who are we? A little background. We're a campaign supported by a coalition of 24 corporations in almost every major national domestic violence and sexual assault prevention organization, including men's groups, groups that help teens and young people, to organizations serving women of color, and to those that focus on families and children. And so on the next slide, I'll talk about what No More does. No More is available to anyone who wants to engage in normalizing the conversation around these issues. Our vision is that individuals, organizations, and corporations, large and small, will embrace the symbol as part of their own communication. We've designed the No More symbol for anyone and everyone to use who wants to advocate for ending domestic violence and sexual assault. And we have our toolkit online available free of charge with everything you need to start using the No More symbol and to help you in your awareness efforts to really raise awareness and get the conversation going about domestic violence and sexual assault. So what's in our toolkit? In our toolkit, you'll find the No More logos, programmable posters and postcards, sample social media posts, awareness event toolkit, and much more. And you can download these tools again on our website. It's on our homepage, and also under the Take Action heading on nomore.org, you'll see the tools to say no more. You can also get to this toolkit directly by typing in nomore.org/toolbox. And make sure that you check out the latest addition to the toolkit, which is our new campus guide, specifically for you. And so next, Savannah is going to introduce you to No More's campus strategy.
Hello, everyone. So my name's Simona. I work with No More as well as a junior consultant, as well as I am a fourth-year UCLA student, and I do sexual assault prevention activism on my campus. And so No More's campus strategy, what we do is we allow the students to put their own campaigns together. And that's through, as you heard from Rachel, we have dozens of campuses putting on campaigns nationwide and utilizing our toolkit. And the toolkit has so many things in it that you can really do as much or as little as you want. That could be anything from just having posters up that say no more to putting on a full-on campaign about your university saying no more. And Simona will go over that a little bit later. But as we go through, here's some examples of campuses that put on no more events or a full-on campaign on their campus. So UCLA, where I'm representing, Go Bruins, it has a few events during our consent week, which I did in March of this past year. So an example of one of our events was in Bruin Walk, which is in the middle of campus. We had students hold up a sign as to why they were saying no more to sexual assault and domestic violence. As you know, sexual assault is a big issue nationally right now, and so we were utilizing that media presence and media attention to do education on our campus. And so we took pictures of the students, Instagrammed it with the hashtag no more or says no more, and students would then take the photos and put it up on their own Facebooks, Instagrams, or Twitters. And it was a very easy way of doing it, but it was very effective. But you'll also hear from Simona, who's from the University of Alaska Anchorage, and there's other universities. And if your university is on here and you see it, maybe you want to reach out to us and see who it was that was a campus advocate or activist ambassador that reached out to us. But you can do this very easily. So I'm going to bring this back, though, to Rachel, who can talk more about our PSAs.
Great. Thanks, Savannah. So to help end the silence and the stigma around domestic violence and sexual assault, No More is partnered with Viacom to launch a new series of powerful No More PSAs. These PSAs launched this past summer and featured a wide variety of Viacom talent, including Dave Navarro, who's now on Spike's Ink Master, and Bow Wow and Kashia, the co-hosts of BET's 106 in Park. Also, Jemima Kirk from Girls, and Natasha Leone from Orange is the New Black, Sophia Bush from Chicago PD, and Nick Lachey and Sway Calloway from MTV News. And so through this new historic partnership with Viacom, we are able to reach one of our most critical audiences, teen and young adults. And these PSAs, which aired over the past summer, were featured on BET, MTV, and Comedy Central, reaching millions of young men and women, and were also spotlighted by People Magazine and Variety. So now we're going to play one of the spots for you. Any moment now.
Hello, this is Leona. I just played it, but I'm getting some feedback that folks weren't seeing it. Is that correct? Savannah or,
yeah,
so you weren't.
I actually didn't see the PSA, but if people want to, are people chatting in the...
They're saying they can't be, so they're, I'm gonna press play again. There should be a media tab. And they click on that.
Yeah, I see that media tab, but for me, the response I'm getting is please type the full URL to the media file you would like to play. Okay, so we have one person that saw it.
I think it might have to do with depending on the browser that you're using or possibly the type of computer. So what we can do is put a link for folks to see it in the public chat box.
Yeah, we can put the link for people to see it, and also we'll put the link on nomore.org/campus webinar. So
yeah,
you can
and if
also
you
watch
copy
it
the URL,
afterwards.
yes, you can copy the URL in the public chat as well.
Great. All right, awesome. Sorry about that technical difficulty. But so here are some of the print ads from these new No More PSAs, and they are featuring the Viacom talent saying no more to the many different excuses that we hear for the inaction and silence around domestic violence and sexual assault. And so these are a preview of some of the ads that will be available online for people to co-brand for. So in the next slide, I'll talk about how nonprofit organizations, universities across the country can co-brand these materials to increase support in their local communities for domestic violence and sexual assault prevention services. And so if you'd like to request information about co-branding, please write down this email. It's nomore@joyfulheartfoundation.org, and provide the following contact information: your name, organization, or school, your contact phone, and the type of campaign materials that you're requesting. And if you ever have any questions, feel free to contact us, and we're at nomore.org/contact. And so next, Savannah is going to continue discussing No More's campus strategy.
Hello. So we talked about how it's student-led, and you can do as much or as little as you'd like, and the fact that there are the PSAs. And the PSAs, as you can see in the second image, you can make your own PSA, utilize our logo, and make it into a photo campaign. And the best part of these photo campaigns and social media in general, and I know a lot of you students have probably seen it with hashtag why I stayed, hashtag why I left, hashtag why I didn't report, or even survivor privilege. Social media right now is a huge presence, and we have a huge presence on it. And if you were to use hashtag no more, hashtag says no more, so let's say it could be UCLA says no more, USC says no more, or even our hashtag no excuses, because we put on a marathon of SVU episodes, which I'm sure many of you know us from. We will, if you post about it, we will then share it or give you a shout out, as well as any of the photos that you send to us will feature on our pages. So that's another way in which we like to empower you all to get more media coverage around what you're doing. So then the question is, now that you know about our tools and you know about our strategy and the toolkit, what can you do on your campus? There's many different things that you can do on your campus, and that's utilizing the toolkit to do it all. You can use our logo, you can co-brand with us, use our posters to have photo campaigns, you can use our awareness action guide. This is all stuff I'm referencing from the toolkit. And it gives you all of the things that you need to put on your own events. And so for me, when I put on mine at UCLA, I had the printed out posters. I co-branded with the No More logo, and it made it very easy. And I kind of expanded upon it. That's not just all I did with my campaign, but that's how I used No More with my campaign. And so we'll go into specific examples because there's 3 ways in which people nowadays utilize our information. And that's first through awareness. Awareness is probably the easiest and most basic level of involvement you can have with us as well as on your campus. So awareness is just as it sounds. You're bringing awareness to the issue of sexual assault and domestic violence. There's already awareness around this topic nationally, but bringing it back to your specific campus is really important, especially since you all are student leaders in one way or another. So it's starting the conversation to bring change and break the stigma. The moment you start talking about sexual assault and domestic violence, people will not stop talking about it. I know I've had a lot of success with having survivors come forward as well as talk and receive counseling after they felt like they had a safe environment to do so. So with Howard University's ROTC, they actually just put the logo on one of their totes, and that's a subtle way of bringing awareness. You can put up the No More posters or the PSAs, create your own, put them around your social media, put them up in dining halls and such, and that's a good basic way of bringing awareness to the issue. Now, second is education. And education is very important because awareness only goes so far, and this is a little bit more, but again, we have all these tools within our toolkit to help you accomplish this. So with education, you are essentially educating on consent, what is bystander intervention, what are healthy relationships, and what are the resources on your specific campus. Many people on campus who unfortunately have these experiences don't know where to go. And you as individuals who can put on these campaigns can utilize the things in our toolkit to educate those students and so they can have help and seek help. So for example, Bucknell sororities all put on a PSA about saying no more. In the PSA, it could be video, it could be visual. What you could do is have a link to maybe your counseling center, your gender equity center, your women's center, giving information. So not only saying here's the issue, but here's a way in which you can receive help. And that's very important with these education campaigns. The biggest thing survivors of both sexual assault and domestic violence face on their campus is the feeling of silence, stigma, and not knowing what to do. And that's the point of the awareness and education. And so I'm going to put this through now to the last thing, philanthropy, for Jill.
Thank you. That was great. One of the things that we hear from a lot of organizers and people who get really excited about bringing awareness to this issue is how can I help my local organization? We know that there are rape crisis centers out there. We know there are domestic violence shelter programs. We know there are places that need funds. They all need funding. And so we would like to do a fundraiser. We want to do a bake sale. We want to sell No More t-shirts. So there's lots of places that you can go to raise money for a local rape crisis center, advocacy organization, or even a No More partner. If you look at the list that we have here, this is our steering committee. They advise us on the issues and our partners. And so you can reach out to them directly if you have a project that you're working on, or if you would like to raise funds for a specific shelter program locally, that would be more than welcome. So we highly recommend that if you're looking at doing some fundraising, it's very much appreciated. People saying, oh, well, I did a bake sale and I only raised $300, but you'd be really surprised for a local program how much services that can provide or how that can help an individual victim receive counseling or if they need shelter. So don't be shy, and certainly you will be surprised about how much you can raise for a program. So please, check into these national organizations that we've listed, but a little bit later on in the slideshow, we'll talk about your local programs as well.
Perfect. So now that you've heard all of this, it's better, though, to have tangible examples of what you can do on your campus. And luckily for you, there's been a year's worth of student activism on this with the No More symbol and our toolkit. So here's some examples from across the nation of what students are doing. Hopefully Canada will be included now with our Canadian webinar viewer. But awareness. So this was University of Northern Iowa. They took those posters, like I said, that I had done, and had students hold up the why they were saying no more. So they didn't, or what they were saying no more to. So for example here, no more silence, no more stigma. Having those photos, and if any of you on college campuses understand, people really like to engage with things when they have their own photo taken, and they'll post more about it and put it as their profile picture if it's a photo of them or their friends. So it's a great way of getting people to engage, especially if you're trying to get them to engage while they're walking to school or walking through to one of their courses. Next, this one's awareness and education. So William Patterson's university football team, they actually went through a sexual assault prevention workshop, and they received certificates. Now, this is really great, especially when you reach out to specific communities, athletics, Greek life, veterans. You can even reach out to your student government, student leaders, or students that are seen as leaders in their community are great first people to contact and get through those education courses, or to use to bring awareness. So you can have them in PSAs, or you can reach out to them to reach out to their constituents. It means a lot more if you have, let's say, a star football player or your student body president behind you on this. And since this is such a big issue, and these two issues are so large in the national media right now, I don't think it would be too hard for you to reach out to your student government. And that's the point of student government as well. Going on. This one's a little bit more intricate. So this is awareness, education, and philanthropy. University of Alabama at Birmingham had a whole event dedicated to this. They tabled, they used their says no more, or what they were saying no more to, put it up in their student union, flyered outside, gave information to students about their resources, and sold shirts. And it's a great way of doing all those things. It could be a day long, it could be a week long, it could be a full-on campaign throughout the year. Again, Sexual Assault Awareness Month is a big time in which a lot of student activists and leaders put on a lot of events, and so Central Washington University is no exception. They used our No More symbol to put on a whole bunch of events, but this specifically, if you see in the background, they talked a lot about what they were saying no more to. And Columbia University last year actually put on their website, on their health services website, about no more and how to receive resources through talking about no more. And then you can make it into art, or maybe even add to, when is Sexual Assault Awareness Month? I see this in the chat. So in Sexual Assault Awareness Month, April. Leona has it on. So more examples. If you look to your left, you'll see the Mississippi State Says No More, and they actually utilize an already existing campaign called the Clothesline Project. Clothesline Project is essentially when we have survivors of domestic violence, sexual violence, and many different types of violence or trauma write on specifically colored T-shirts about their stories. They utilize this in an art show. So they put up the art, which is great. It brings awareness to the issue and educates students using real scenarios and real stories. But the best part about it is if you look around the actual T-shirt, they have pledges, and they have basically where you can say no more and why you would say no more. So not only are you given the problem or what's happened to someone, but you're also given an option to take action, and that's very important. And then on the right is another example of having a photo campaign, getting a really nice photographer to take pictures, and it can get a lot of students involved. Again, it could be high budget where you utilize full-on posters, or low budget if you look on the left. They utilize just the same posters and just made the no more symbol and the posters with marker. And then on the right, they got to put in why they said no more as well. And now I'm going to shift this off to Simona, who did a lot of work on her own campus around no more.
Thank you. My name is Simona Kurtz, and I recently graduated from the University of Alaska Anchorage. Last fall, a fellow student and myself decided that we really wanted to do something to spark the conversation about domestic violence and sexual assault on campus at UAA. We wanted to engage our peers in issues that have profoundly impacted the entire state of Alaska and wanted to challenge the way in which these issues are perceived among many in our society. Overcoming the culture of victim blaming and stigma surrounding domestic violence and sexual assault really begins and ends with saying no more. As we began planning our campus campaign, we stumbled upon the No More website and knew almost instantly that we had found an organization with an intent almost identical to our own. Once we downloaded the toolkit that's available online, we went to work. When students had returned from spring break, we had planned to have the campus covered in No More. And we selected posters that had messages we felt would be most appealing to our student body, and we placed them in every building and dormitory on campus. We also reached out to local news organizations and told them what we were doing. We were able to actually have several of our activities during the launch week covered in both print and television news. One suggestion that we found in the toolkit was to host a donut day, so we ordered several dozens of blue ice donuts and offered them to students, faculty, and staff on campus. This allowed us to tell them about No More and about what the posters they had been seeing all week on campus represented. Students also had the opportunity to share their own No More statement by taking a photo with the boards that we had created for I Say No More Because. Then they uploaded the photos to our Facebook page, and this also helped us spread the word about an event that we had planned later on in the week, which was a multidisciplinary discussion panel where we invited experts in the field of domestic violence and sexual assault to come talk to students about the entire process from initial reporting to police response and also through legal proceedings. This also provided a great link to provide students with the resources that were available not only on campus but in the community, which is really what we wanted to do because we feel like there are many resources available, but sometimes getting that information to those who need it doesn't always happen. So No More really enabled us to link people who were asking us questions to the resources that were already available to them. And so looking back over the last 8 months, if I had anything that I could tell myself, I would tell myself to reach out to faculty and staff on campus. You'll likely find that you are surrounded by professionals that can provide you with invaluable advice and connections. Also collaborate with others. Collaboration was essential to the success of our campus campaign, and I think this is true of any campaign, especially when you are advocating against issues that profoundly impact the lives of so many people on your campus. Lastly, I would say don't give up. Being an advocate is not always easy, and at times you may feel that some people aren't as passionate about these issues as you are or you think they should be. You might encounter bumps along the way, red tape to maneuver around, or whatever the challenges may be. Don't be discouraged. I would say grab hold of whatever motivated you to listen to this webinar today and to use that as you keep pushing forward with your own No More campus campaign. And thank you for your time. I'm going to hand it back over to Rachel, who will talk about the power of social media.
Great. Thanks, Anna. So you've just seen a ton of different examples from campuses using No More to raise awareness. Clearly, there are a ton of different ways you can start raising awareness on campus, from pledge cards, murals, photography campaigns, blue donut bake sales, my favorite. There's really no limit to the ideas and events you can create, but a few things to keep in mind. First, social media is a really powerful tool to raise awareness and foster discussion. So #Activism is a great way to magnify voices that might not otherwise be heard. And many people do learn about causes from social media, so utilize students' obsession with social to gain new supporters and improve their understanding of these issues, provide them facts, resources, etc. My recent favorite example of hashtag activism is the Why I Stayed hashtag that was recently trending on Twitter immediately following the Ray Rice video that surfaced last week. And so the one important thing that came out of this video, thousands and thousands of survivors shared their Why I Stayed stories in response to the public blaming Janae Rice, the victim, for staying with Ray Rice. And so this Why I Stayed conversation shed light on the complexity of domestic violence, and it really worked. And this article came out yesterday that I saw, and that more people Googled the domestic violence hotline last week than in any week in the past year. And so it goes to show the power of social media, that it really can actually create change. So that's just a great example, a recent example. But on the next slide, Jill will offer some more advice to help you get started.
Hi, yes. Savannah just said in her great piece that, and Simona as well, is really, really important to get connected with what's going on locally. I can't stress that enough. I've been working in the domestic violence and sexual assault field for a very long time, working with rape crisis centers. I've worked on hotlines. I've gone into high schools and done prevention campaigns. And one of the things that you need to do is reach out to those local programs. Tell them that you're interested in doing a No More campaign on your campus and talk to them about what you're doing. And that would support the work that they do, and they will be supportive of the work that you're doing. I also want to let you know that when you start having these conversations with your peers, even if it's a very small event, you'll see that folks will come forward and disclose either they were abused as a child, or maybe they're currently in an abusive relationship, or maybe they saw something at a party that made them feel uncomfortable. And you may not feel equipped and ready to be able to provide counseling to that person, but your local crisis center can. So if you let them know you're having these events, they often have volunteers who are specially trained that can come and speak to those survivors. They have hotline cards that you can hand out so that a survivor can immediately call a crisis line and talk to a trained professional. So you'll see that folks will start to come forward because you're making them feel safe. You're giving them a safe space to talk about this issue that they may not have ever had before. So I cannot stress enough the importance of contacting your local programs. You can find them on the website. You can Google them. There's lots of links that we will be providing to you. You can go through your state coalition, see what kind of activities are in your area. Some crisis centers might be a little bit far away. Your state coalitions are usually housed in your state capital. If you're lucky to be in California, CalCRASA has offices in different places around the state as well. So I once again want to talk to you about the valuable input that you can get and the support for each other, because they're going to be having activities too, and they may say, hey, you know, Campus No More team, we're going to be having this big run walk. Can you bring your team to our event as well? Or we need to raise money because we have a new project that we want to work with kids and teens. And so if you're working together, you're going to feel very supported by them, and they're going to love having your support. And also reaching out to law enforcement and the criminal justice system. I know they have a really bad reputation, and often on campus we've heard horror stories where they don't do the right thing. But there are people in the law enforcement community and criminal justice community and prosecutors' offices who do want to do really good work and already do. Especially in the prosecutor, the DA's office, they often have a victim witness assistance program, and that is someone who helps a victim who is a witness in a case go through the criminal justice process. So please reach out to them and learn more about your local system as well, because they're very supportive and can help get people to your events, and we'll be very thankful to the work that you're doing. And if you're thinking about starting a career in working on these issues, it's a great way to learn about how do I go beyond being this awareness person on my campus and make a job out of stopping domestic violence and sexual assault. That's what I did a very long time ago, and have still been doing it for almost 20 years now. So I really encourage you to work with a local folks.
Great, and next I'm going to go over some of the common questions that we get. So first, do I need permission to use the No More logo on merchandise? And the answer is no. We want you to utilize the logo in your events, in your materials, in collateral, and we strongly encourage anyone and everyone who supports the mission of No More to integrate the No More symbol into your existing branding or materials and collateral. So it can be co-branded or displayed on its own. And then the next question is, how involved does my student group need to be, or any individual? And the answer is, we want you to do whatever you're comfortable with. You can take a variety of actions, to smaller actions to much larger actions, like starting a No More campaign at your school. And we want you to do whatever you're comfortable with, but if you have any questions, you can obviously contact us. And our email is on the slide. It's nomoreproject@gmail.com. And the next question, you're stumped on logistics, need ideas, no worries. We encourage you to check our social media. There are tons of different examples of, obviously, the students doing this work, and we also create graphics that you can use and tailor to your audience if you need to. And again, reach out if you have any questions or need some specific guidance, or check out the stack page on our website. It's nomore.org/commonly-asked questions, and that's under the About section as well. And next, I'm going to hand it over back to Jill to give you a brief overview of what's coming up.
Yes, there's a lot coming up at No More. One of the things that I'd like to announce, if you haven't heard or seen on our social media, is that the Avon Foundation for Women has awarded a generous grant to Casa de Esperanza, who is a partner of No More, to do a study to talk about domestic violence and sexual assault among the Latino community in the United States. We call this the No Mas campaign. So even though we don't have a whole lot of No Mas material yet, we will have some coming up hopefully before the end of the school year next year for you to use to reach out to Latina and Latinos on your campus. So keep that in mind and keep a watch on that. We'll be making lots of announcements about it as things move along, and we certainly want you to be reaching out to all members of the community on your campus. So this is a great way to reach out to members of the Spanish-speaking community as well. Next month, which is only a couple of weeks away, is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So in October, we have a lot of our domestic violence shelter programs have big campaigns. You might start seeing purple ribbons popping up everywhere. So we ask that you contact your local shelter program or domestic violence prevention and intervention center and say, hey, what are you doing for Domestic Violence Awareness Month? I'm just kicking off a No More campaign, or I have an existing No More campaign, and we want to celebrate Domestic Violence Awareness Month with you. So make sure that you get in touch with them. They're gearing up now. You can find a lot of resources on the Internet. You can go to NCADV, as well as the National Domestic Violence Resource Center, and you can even just Google Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and you can find out all the wonderful things that people are doing, and we will also provide more links as well. We also will be participating again for the third, I believe, USA Network No More, a Law and Order SVU Marathon on October 19th. I believe it will be a 12-hour run, and the episodes that have been selected will be focusing on domestic violence and sexual assault. And throughout the marathon, we will have special PSAs that have been filmed with the National Domestic Violence Hotline and Sexual Assault Hotlines. And we encourage you to have a viewing party. 12 hours of Law and Order is a little bit much for me, but a couple of hours to get people started talking about these issues, to see them in a very dramatic setting, gets them to see how serious these issues are. So we want to invite you on October 19th. We also have a link to the Domestic Violence Awareness Month project that has a list of events and programs. And also, as I said, contacting your local shelter to see what they're doing and invite them to do things on your campus as well. If you are starting out small and you're not creative, I'm not a creative person, just replicate what other people are doing. Talk to your shelter and say, hey, I love what you're doing. Can I add that to my No More campaign? And look at what other students are doing as well. I'm sure Savannah and Simona would be glad for you to replicate the things that they've done on their campuses. So don't feel like you have to come up with the most creative, most interesting, or nobody's ever done it before campaign. You can also replicate what people are doing. And before everybody gets entrenched in midterms and the finals before Christmas, start thinking about April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and the National Sexual Violence Resource Center already is starting to put out materials for April. So in January, you'll start to see a lot more information going online. We will post those as well. But start thinking now about what you can do in April. If you don't think you have enough time to get something started for Domestic Violence Awareness Month, there's always April. And frankly, we think every month should be an awareness month on these issues. So don't feel like you are chained to any calendar. It's about your motivation and the support that you get on your campus.
Perfect. So we've given you a whole lot of information, and I'm sure that it's going to be very hard for you to go through the entire PDF and click each of the things. So we have a nice summary of all your resources and links in this bottom slide. You have the link for tools to say no more, the Viacom PSAs, your local rape crisis centers, local shelters, state coalitions, Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and all of the events that go on into that. Before I go into Cal Costa's Student Summit and Cal Costa itself, which I would like to let Leona speak to, we do have, as part of our new college toolkit, a one-pager about what you can do and sort of a summary of the webinar in a way, as well as a link to a new page we have on our website dedicated to campus resources and education that exists nationally. So many of you may know about this, like Know Your Nine or End Rape on Campus, Safer Campuses, as well as Force, which has been doing the Survivor Monument quotes. So they have even additional resources for you if you want to go more into the changing policy aspect of your activism. And so I would really recommend downloading the new toolkit with the one-pager and specifically going to that website if you're wanting for more intensive instructions on how to do this kind of activism, because it could go way beyond what even we're providing you if you'd like. So I'm going to hand it off, though, to Leona briefly to talk about the Cal Costa Student Summit report, which can also help you to go more into the policy aspect.
Thank you so much for that. So as it was referenced earlier, California Coalition Against Sexual Assault, or Cal Costa, is the state rape crisis coalition here in California. And we have been a national TA provider around campus sexual assault, dating violence, stalking, and domestic violence for, almost 15 years now. And one of the things that we were realizing when doing a TA with the university systems is that we weren't getting a lot of student voices and student experiences during the work that we're doing to end those types of violence on campus. And so we gathered 50 students from around the state of California, state, schools, JCs, and I believe there was a trade school as well, to talk about their experiences with sexual violence. And in particular how their school responds to that. And I'm very excited because Vanna was one of the participants in our student summit, and we put together the information that the students gave us, and we put out a report, and in the text chat box I put a link to that report on our website. We feel that it's a really great tool for students to take back to their university systems or their college systems and create a dialogue to talk about their wants and needs around sexual violence prevention, and it can even be expanded out to include domestic violence, dating violence, and stalking.
Thank you so much for that, Leona.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we'll pass that on to Rachel now. if we have any questions, Rachel, did you want to go over any of the our different social media links?
Yeah, sure. You can check out our social media pages. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. All the links are directly on our website as well, nomore.org, in the upper left-hand corner, but they're also here if you want to check us out and see what's going on, and feel free to email us at nomoreproject@gmail.com. Thank you.
Yeah, so now we'll be fielding any of your questions.
This is Leona. Once again, the lines are muted, but if you go ahead and put your question in the text chat box, the team at No More will hopefully be able to get to a good chunk of questions. We have about 10 minutes left in this web conference. Once again, if you have asked a question and it's further up in the text chat box, go ahead and raise your hand, and we'll look for those with raised hands to answer any questions that you may have.
Hi, this is Jill. I just wanted to say that one of the questions that I saw earlier is that what about a campus that's really small? I said that's awesome. I spoke once at Berry College in Georgia. It's a very, very small Christian school, and so everybody knows everybody, and so it's very easy to assemble a small group of people. You start wearing the blue symbol, and people are like, what's that mean? And then you get to have a conversation, and then they say, great, let's bring that to our Bible study group, or hey, let's talk about that with our soccer team, or hey, can we talk about that with a group of students who wants to talk about gender equality issues. So a small campus is sometimes great. I went to school with 40,000 people, and so I feel like it would have been extremely hard to organize things. In fact, one time we held an event and we had 10 people show up, and I felt like I was a total failure. But it did grow over time. So just note that regardless of the size of your campus, it's all about your energy and getting the right people excited. And as Simona said, don't lose heart. You know, sometimes it's hard to get people excited. And you're in school and you've got lots of things to do, and check back with folks at home and go to sporting events and worry about getting a job when you graduate. So there's a lot going on. So don't lose heart. And, you know, it's amazing what one person, 10 people can do. You don't have to have a 10,000 person movement to make a big change.
Yeah, so we have two questions so far, one from Nicole and one from Elizabeth. Rachel or Jill, can you read the one above from Elizabeth? I'm going to answer the one from Nicole right now. Nicole asked, do you have any advice for those of us who have been sexually assaulted in the past that have not reported? How can we try to raise awareness when a lot of people say that you didn't stand up for yourself? The reason why I wanted to answer this, Nicole, is because I'm a survivor of sexual assault, and I did not report my assault. That was done by a fellow UCLA student. And that is some feedback that you do get. It's unfortunate, but it does come, and that's part of breaking that stigma. But by no means you not reporting or not even talking about it. You don't have to be vocal about it to be brave or considered courageous. So do not feel like you need to somehow report or talk about your assault to legitimize yourself in this work. As long as you care and you work towards it, and you can do some of the suggestions of examples of events we've given you, that shouldn't matter. So in terms of receiving that feedback, just start having the conversation. You really do not have to talk about why you didn't report. And if you want to actually break that stigma, I recommend going to Twitter right now and looking up the hashtag why I didn't report. You'll actually see that most people don't report, and there's a lot of reasons behind it. And maybe you could start off by talking about that very issue.
Thank you. And I think that you said there was a question from Kristen McCullough from Clemson. I'm from the University of Georgia, Kristen, so sorry about that game a couple weekends ago. that you get to use your auditorium often? Is it possible to get a guest speaker? Yeah, there are many organizations that you can pull from our steering committee list, as well as your state coalition, and even your local service program nearby may have either a survivor who can come and speak. I think it depends really on what you're looking for. I will type in my email address, and you can email me, and I can give you some contacts of people that are the best ones for you to reach out to ask for a speaker to come speak at your event. I also want to let folks know that, you're often going to see male survivors start to come forward because we are trying really hard in this movement to create a safe space for male survivors to come forward and talk about what has happened to them or for them to find services. And I really, really encourage you to check out the website 1 in 6. And also a call to men and other organizations in our steering committee that are focused on working with men, because this is not just a women's issue, and we really want you all to know that men are more than welcome in this space, both as survivors and advocates, and so please check out those organizations. And there are services that are specially tailored to survivors who don't feel comfortable or may have contacted a grave crisis center in the past and not had a good experience, for which I apologize, but there are services for men as well. So don't feel left out, and make sure that when you're talking about these issues that you do include them in your activities, because it's going to take all of us working together in order for us to prevent and stop these issues.
Perfect. And Jill, do you mind answering the question I just posted?
Let's see if I can find it here.
It's from Elizabeth. It says, any advice for advocacy organizations looking to work more with schools to make the initial partnership and see this through?
I would say, reaching out to the Greek community is a great way to get involved. The Greek community, it does a lot of philanthropy and does a lot of volunteer work. So reaching out to them, reaching out to your sports teams. Yeah, you might not be able to get the Clemson football team involved right away, but the women's soccer team, or maybe there's a volleyball team or a lacrosse team that really wants to get engaged. Look at groups that are already on campus that are looking for something to do. So I would look for teams, as well as someone mentioned earlier in the chat, the Title IX group. So you might want to contact them as well, and put it out on your social media. Just say, hey, we're looking for students in the area who want to get involved with us. We're going to have a meeting, please come, or email us and let us know, if we can get involved. So I think that's one way to get involved. I don't know if Simona or Savannah has better advice. Please feel free to jump in.
In terms of those organizations, I would really recommend for the students to reach out to the organizations themselves, but if organizations reach out to specific student governments, specifically the health representatives, it's very effective as well, because they can then refer you to different sexual assault prevention organizations on campus. And that's me coming from a student government perspective. But I cannot echo what Jill has been telling you all about reaching out to your local rape crisis centers and domestic violence shelters. I have an amazing relationship with Santa Monica Rape Treatment Center, and they offer me so much information. It's almost as though they train me. That way, if someone does disclose, I know how to refer properly. And that could be, it really does help you, because a lot of people might start talking to you about this, and it could overwhelm you. Activist burnout is a very real issue, and so make sure to take care of yourself as well. That's one piece of advice I have.
This is Leona. I also wanted just to jump in from a state, if you don't mind, guys, from the state coalition perspective. If you're an advocacy organization and you're interested in getting into a college campus, I would really suggest, as the folks that they all mentioned, but also checking in with if there's a women's center, or even if there are folks that do your coordinated community response. So if you can get in touch with a program manager in like gender equity or things like that, those are always good ways to get in touch with folks.
All right, everyone. If you all have any more questions, please feel free to email us. Again, nomoreproject@gmail. But Jill and Rachel and I wanted to give a huge thank you to CalCASA for helping us put this on. Jill?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I've worked with CalCASA for many years. Leona, David, Abby, you've all that I see that are on. You guys have done an amazing job, and I can't stress enough for the students who are on the webinar to go to CalCASA's website and look at all the information that they have, bystander interventions and prevention, all their campus TA work, and also for thanking them for letting us use their webinar series today. Without you, we would not be able to be having this discussion. So I want to thank you for the work that you've done and your entire staff. CalCASA is an amazing organization from my proud state of California, and looking forward to plugging your conference next year as well in Los Angeles, the National Sexual Assault Conference, which is in September. So I'd like to see a big group of campus folks rally around and come to the conference and talk about all the wonderful things that you're doing as CalCASA, but also have the campuses be able to talk to you about the wonderful things they're doing too. So everyone, big shout out to CalCASA.
And thank you all so much. We are at time, and as we mentioned, this will be recorded, and No More put up the website where you'll be able to access this, but there will be a follow-up email going out where, once again, the website where you can access materials will be at. So we appreciate everyone's participation, and good luck and great success with any future awareness campaigns that you do.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.